So, I'm Socks,
And I'm Jenna.
and this is our presentation on Sami theater.
And film!
Like much of Sami culture, Sami theater is a mixture of traditional practices and modern developments.
In our presentation, we seek to explore how Sami self-representation in theater and film leads to a greater understanding of their culture and issues, both within the Sami and amongst majority cultures. Sami theater developed out of many traditional types of performance. One of these types of performance is called the snow play. The snow play is a Sami type of performance that happens outside in the snow, no matter how cold it gets, including many negative degrees. Several troupes still perform this, including Dalvadis and Things at the Ice Globe, which we'll talk about later. Additionally, the Sami theater uses a lot of yoik. We've talked so much about yoik in class, but it's important to know that music and theater always go hand in hand. Yoiks have been used in many ways in modern theater performances as well as ancient theater performances. One such performance is the new yoik rock opera called My Country. This is by Ilo Gop, who you should remember from all of our talks in class about Night Between the Days, if you read that. Ilo wrote this play about the Sami people, so it's really important to keep in mind that he's using a traditional type of performance in a new type of performance about his people. Now we'll talk more about Dalvadis, who I mentioned earlier in this slide.
The Dalvadi was a leader in the development of contemporary Sami theater. When they were established in 1971, they built their headquarters in Jokkmokk and Karesuando, Sweden. The establishment of the Dalvadi is considered to be an important milestone in the development of modern Sami theater because they spearheaded the transition in traditions by incorporating the traditional snow plays in their performances. This incorporation of a cultural tradition is significant because it provides an opportunity for these traditions to be displayed in their proper manner and format. In addition, providing an accurate depiction of the Sami lifestyle and beliefs can be gained through this incorporation. These depictions were shown to the world by traveling outside of their headquarters and performing in countries around the Nordic and Arctic regions. After the Alta Dam conflict, Sami pride and self-representation became more prevalent and led to the change in name from the Dalvadi to the Sami Theater in 1992 when they changed leadership. After changing their name to the Sami Theater, many changes took place in the lives of this company. One of the most significant changes was the fact that they received funding from the Swedish government to produce theater for Sami education in 2001. This kind of funding meant that the Sami were being given more opportunities to express their views, and they were also being facilitated by the majority government. Another result of this increased funding was the ability to move their headquarters to Kiruna, Sweden, bringing the two previous headquarters together, meeting about halfway in between. Kiruna is also significantly closer to the middle of the Sapmi area of Sweden in comparison to Karesuando, making the theater more accessible to Swedish Sami and Swedish residents. By training Sami actors and performing with Sami traditions, the Sami theater quickly became the largest group of Sami actors in the Swedish performing arts. In 2009, the Sami theater changed ownership again, and they changed their name from the Sami Theater to the Giron Sami Theater. They have been acclaimed as the national stage for Sami and Sami self-expression in Sweden.
The Giron Sami Theater is centered in Kiruna, Sweden. It tries to promote arts and theater all throughout Sami land. Everything that happens in the theater happens in specifically Sami languages. As we've discussed earlier in this course, taking away languages from people really oppresses them, so being allowed to have theater and representation in their own languages is exceptionally important to the Sami and especially the Giron Theater. It's a non-profit with a board of Swedish Sami politicians along with arts experts, and it's funded by the Sami Parliament, which shows you that it's actually a very political organization and very important to Sami politics. It holds workshops for young people that really shows them art, theater, and their own culture as a very positive thing and teaches them how to express themselves. They travel to different stages all over the world to show their art, including Beavash, Norrbottensteatern, Tornedalsteatern, Theatern, the Ice Globe, and the Kennedy Center in the United States. As we talked about before, it was established as the Sami Theater in 1992 and changed its name only in 2009. One of the things they're trying to do with the Sami Parliament is establish a Sami National Theater stage in Sweden. This would be a tremendous deal because it would say that the Sami were a nation in and of themselves, deserving their own art scene.
While many of the Sami representations that we see are of the northern Sami, there are theaters that provide other representations, including those of the South Sami. Having their headquarters in Mo i Rana, Norway, the Oriel Sami Theater provides performances that depict Sami life in southern Sami. However, they aren't as popular or recognized in as high regards as the other Sami theaters that we've looked at in this presentation. They struggle with financials more often due to this unpopularity. Even though they started off as a theater company that would frequently travel around Sweden and Norway, due to their financial situation, they are very limited in their abilities to produce theater now, depending mostly on Norwegian tax revenues to keep their doors open. With such a dependence, they are no longer able to travel through Sweden and perform because they can't afford the expenses and have limited their seasons to only producing 2 shows a year. Only being able to produce such a small season shows the struggles that many forms of Sami arts are experiencing because they are so dependent on people being interested in their culture and taking the time to become educated on the issues that they are facing. The Beavash Theatre was founded in 1981 in Kautokeino, Norway. Directly influenced by the events of the Alta Dam conflict, this theatre was created in opposition to the expansion of the dam through their self-written production of Våra Vidder, which is translated into Our Mountains. After their performances during the Alta Dam conflict, their team, which consisted of Niels Gaup, Knut Wale, and Kurt Hermansen, decided that they should continue creating Sami theater in order to provide more opportunities for the Sami to have their voices heard in a culture where they were frequently being silenced. The Beavash Sami Theater was groundbreaking because beyond standing up for Sami issues, they also started creating theater that was performed in the Sami language. They also began training actors in the Sami traditions of theater to help the Sami regain a connection to their historical background that was becoming less prominent due to the lasting effects that boarding schools had on Sami culture. The media attention that the Beavash Theater has began their mission of providing an outreach to educate the world on who the Sami are and what their culture is really like. However, they do not rely on the media as they are frequently traveling around the world to different countries and Sami communities to raise cultural awareness. One of the factors of the Beavash Theater's importance is their commitment to only using actors that can speak Sami and using their performances as events to inspire more people to learn their Sami language. In addition to Niels Gaup being an important figure in the foundation of the theater, most, if not all, of the actors that Gaup used in the Pathfinder were trained at the Beavash Theater. They've gained funding from the Norwegian and Sami governments to help continue the cultural awareness projects that the theater provides, as well as creating an environment for the Sami to have their voice heard. Through their productions of new Sami playwrights every year, they provide more opportunities for the Sami to express their issues and their viewpoints.
The Jukkasjärvi Ice Globe is a recreation of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, made entirely out of ice, although the seats are made with reindeer skins. It's by the Torna River and the Jukkasjärvi Ice Hotel in Sweden. One would think that because the Ice Hotel is a tourist attraction, that this would just be a tourist trap as well, but if it is, it's one with a specifically pro-Sami purpose. Rolf Dagerland, who's the artistic director, says that his whole purpose of the theater is to produce Shakespeare but in the Sami language. This rejuvenates Sami languages and makes them more visible to outsiders who only know Shakespeare. He does this with all Sami casts and using Sami music and costumes in his Shakespearean production. He pulls heavily from the talents of the Beaváš Theatre because he once trained there. And all of the plays sort of evolved from the tradition of snow plays, which we talked about before, because everything happens outside, no matter how cold it is. They talked about in Hamlet that they had to condense the play to an hour and 15 minutes because it was minus 38 and they had outsiders in the audience. Hamlet was particularly important to this theater because it had huge audiences and the presence of 200 international reporters. This made Sami issues hugely visible because even people who didn't know the Sami knew about this new theater and the new language they were speaking their plays in. Interspersed between Shakespearean plays at the theater are Sami dance and yoiking, which gives even further visibility to Sami culture. Here's a brief overview of Sami films so you can follow along better as we go in depth about the best Sami filmmakers. The first film that depicted Sami people was Laila in 1929. This was distinctly not from the Sami point of view. It depicted the Sami as stereotypical, exotic, aboriginal, pure, underdeveloped, and inferior, the typical noble savage routine. The film was redone in 1937, but it didn't do a whole lot better. It was still talking a lot about noble savages, although it was slightly more self-aware of racial tensions. A big shift happened in the work of Per Host. His work Samiyaki in 1957 still talked about the noble savage and preserving this pure people, but his later redoing of the film in Sami Alen in 1972 was about real Sami people and criticizing real political barriers to the Sami and real Norwegianization colonization problems. Everything really changed, though, with the Alta Dam conflict, as everything really did. This can really be seen in the films of Niels Gaup. We've talked about Pathfinder and Kautokeino Rebellion in class, and we'll talk about them more in this presentation, but it's important to know that those two films really marked Sami representing themselves for a change. Additionally, contemporary filmmakers all focused on self-representation and finding personal identity. In this presentation, we'll be discussing the works of Alamaya Tailfeathers, Emanuel Kernel, Liselette Wallstadt, Harriet Nudlin, Kine Bowman, and Maria Balnango, and all of the ways that they promoted Sami representation in film studies. We've talked about Niels Gaup in class, but his work is so important that we thought we'd bring him up again in our discussion of film. He is not an exclusively Sami director, and many of his movies, like his most recent one, The Last King, are about Norway or other issues throughout the world. However, his Sami-centered films are hugely influential and both talk about and also help Sami self-representation. His work, like the work of so many others, is inspired by Beaváš Theatre, where he was trained and worked on many theatrical productions. His first Sami film is The Pathfinder, which we watched and discussed in class. This film reasserts the value of Sami language, religion, and culture. It discusses these issues in two primary ways. It does this to outsiders by using music and other universally comprehensible idioms and norms, and to insiders using Sami language and traditions. It also reconstructs shaman culture and practices, which many modern Sami have never been exposed to because of Christianization and Norwegianization. It also promotes self-representation and ethnic pride because all these Sami actors get to be shown as the heroes in a film. His other big important Sami film is the Kautokeino Rebellion, which we also discussed in class. This is a retelling of history from a Sami perspective, which is totally new and totally revolutionary. It emphasizes the beauty of Sami land through huge shots of nature that really show it off. And it also shows people Norwegians would consider terrorists in a totally new light. The Sami are the heroes in this representation. It's also in conversation with modern discussions of racial identities and historical racialized violence. The Sami get to show themselves in Niels Gaup's movies, and this is very important.
Alamaya Tailfeathers is an emerging filmmaker and writer who has been honored with many awards recently. She grew up as a member of two indigenous communities, the Blood Tribe of the Kainai First Nation and the Sami. She has focused her film career on promoting the viewpoints of indigenous people on contemporary issues and social justice. Her film career started in 2011 with her film Bloodland, which has been used in the Idle No More movement quite recently. While this film specifically dealt with the oil fracking issues of the Kainai, she used the same ideals as the Beowash Theater by using a completely indigenous cast and crew. She's also created films that focus on Sami issues. One of these films that was created most recently was the Scott McGavitt mockumentary that raises questions about Sami art that are very real and relevant within the Sami community today. One of her most recent works, Vitos, which means rebel in Sami, is still touring festivals and can be seen on Air Canada and Alaskan Airlines flights. This film combines archival footage, reenactments, and animations to explore how past injustices impacted the marriage and lives of her parents. It has become one of her most acclaimed short films due to its nature of being a depiction of what the Sami are facing in their lives today. Amanda Kernell is a Swedish Southern Sami filmmaker who is most known for her short film Stora Vejre. Her background in film was enhanced through her studies at the National Film School of Denmark. She has made 8 films, but has received the most recognition for Stora Vejre, which translates into Northern Great Mountain. Throughout the film, Kernell shows how the lasting impact of the boarding schools influences how the Sami are still struggling with celebrating their Sami heritage, especially in the older generations. Stora Vejre has received 4 awards for the best short film at film festivals such as Imaginative and Göteborg International Film Festival. Stora Vejre is the prologue to her newest short film, Sami Blood, which goes back to follow the same main character while she is at the boarding schools in the 1930s. Throughout the newest film, we are going to see how the main character experiences the biological examinations and Sami racism of the time period. Sami Blood has not been released yet, but is currently in post-production to be released soon. Through these films, Kernell exposes how the boarding schools have left an impact on the current Sami culture today, and how it has carried problems into today's culture and is still a contemporary issue for the Sami as they try to reclaim their heritage and celebrate it. Liselott Forsstedt began her film career in college as she attended Gotland University with an emphasis on storytelling and scriptwriting. She remarks that many have called her a female Sami artist, but argues that she is really just a human artist because the issues that she works with are human issues, just like Sami issues are human issues. She points out that Sami people are really just ordinary people with ordinary issues, and tries to show this in her films by using techniques that don't romanticize the Sami culture. In fact, she portrays their culture as a regular human lifestyle because the issues that she confronts are universal issues. Most of her works are short films and have been received well by the public. However, she also helps other artists with their expressions of Sami culture as well. One instance that we have seen in our class so far is Sophia Jonok's music video for Arvis, which was directed by Forsstedt. Forsstedt also uses moments from her family life and childhood in her films to make them more acceptable and accessible to audiences in order to show that the Sami are just as human as the rest of us, dealing with the same issues that we face, just bringing light to them through the Sami viewpoints.
There's 3 other contemporary filmmakers you should know, and it's important to note that they're all 3 women too. The first is Harriet Nordland. She was born in Jokkmokk in 1954, and she's a director, actor, and writer. She won the Sami Week Prize in 2016 for improving stage language in the fight against colonization, and is overall a huge Sami activist and works especially with Sami languages on screen to show Sami self-representation. The next is Kina Bowman. She's born in Sweden in 1979. She's more of a documentary filmmaker. Her first film, Only Image of My Father, talks about a woman finding a picture of her Sami father and trying to find her own identity through that image. Her next film, Herdswoman, is about modern changes and challenges in Sami. It talks a lot about old herding and how old traditions can work in modern transitions. The last person is Maria Balnango. She was born in Galgojärvi in 1988. She works with all different genres, but particularly short films. She's really caught the eye of people nowadays, and she loves using Sami stories and way of thinking. She believes that she takes a fearless and fresh cinematic approach to her Sami identity, and she really tries to speak truth into the Sami experience. Her films were in the Tampere Film Festival in 2015, and she grew great acclaim and really spoke out for the Sami people and their issues.
The traditions of Sami theater and film have transitioned to fit a modern context, promoting Sami identity and their viewpoint on contemporary issues.
Thus, supporting and watching such Sami productions helps us understand and raise awareness of their culture. Thank you so much. Bye!